How do OS-level protections work together with hardware defenses?
Well, from a silicon perspective, there are things that enable it to work. So we're talking, there's a company called Bromium that does what they call micro VMs, and HP has since purchased that company. And you have to have certain hardware pieces built into it, namely TXT enabled, et cetera, or Intel virtualization technology turned on for that software to work. So you have to have that base level of silicon for it to work. We have other things more recently for virtualized base security, or VBS, which is a big catchphrase now, where Intel can actually encrypt that container so it becomes hardened itself against other attacks running in that particular container. So there are security pieces starting at the silicon that the various ISVs can take advantage of.
Hardware was always at the focus of security back in the day. Then we did get a lot of software-focused security, and then it kind of swung back, where hardware and hardware manufacturers really looked at saying, we got to make sure that these boxes, this hardware, is secure from the get-go. So talk about that and addressing Mike about dealing with and how this all comes kind of full circle now.
Yeah, so as mentioned, Bromium became two products called SureClick and SureAccess. So both are virtualization, both are hardware dependent. So we will not run if we don't have the VXT enabled. So we're isolating memory, we're isolating CPU at the chip level to enable our products to work on the OS level. And basically what we're doing is we're isolating anything that could be risky. So we're trying to educate users, and we know how well educating users works. It gets you part of the way there, but people are going to click on dumb things. I do. Don't multitask. You tend to do bad things. So clicking on something that could be malicious, we open it up in a virtual machine. And it's a protected virtual machine, so we can't go east-west with any of the bad things that are happening. So it's isolated to that device, it's isolated in that VM, and when we close that VM down, we have the information and it gets destroyed. So malware isn't a problem. The other piece we have that's very similar to that, also hardware dependent, is SureAccess, which is basically, think of it as a software-based thin client device. So it goes in the PAM-PA model of privileged access workstation. So if I'm administering Active Directory, I'm doing, or going to some high value resource, I'm doing administration, I don't want people taking screenshots, intercepting any keystrokes, or running malicious code remotely. I can isolate that, and I'm sure that I'm isolated, and I don't have to have a separate workstation to do that. So both those technologies are fully dependent on the hardware, but they work on the OS level.
And dependent on newer hardware, right? So that's where a lot of organizations have been going through the refresh cycles now. And so it's got to be something that they need to be evaluating, saying, if we want to take advantage of the promise of some of the, we do need it on some of the newer hardware.
Correct. Yep, more developments every day as far as what we're doing and adding on at the chip level to what we can do. And we mentioned supply chain as well. Like we're working on that side also. So when you have something shipped, we're taking a snapshot of what that configuration looks like, and we can verify it when it gets there. That way we know it hasn't been tampered with in transit.
Nothing in transit, yeah.
So advances keep happening very fast.